else, but like I said, it's not that difficult to do. X minus 5, absolute value of x minus 5 is less than or equal to 2. So do you notice from the get-go, less than or equal to, when we have our graph, we're going to shade in the dot instead of open dot. Step number 1. Solve the corresponding equation. Absolute value of x minus 5 equals 2. You'll get to where you can solve these pretty easy. That's it. You split it. That's how you solve the equations, right? Or x equals, careful, plus 5, 3. X equals 7, x equals 3. The more you work with these guys, they really do get easier. Step 2. Put them on a number line. Here's 3. Here's 7. That's step 2. That was easy. There you go. Step 3, pick some numbers. You've got 3 intervals. 0's in this one, 4's in this one, and 8's in this one. Do I have to use 0, 4, 8? No. I could use 1, 5, and 9. Yeah, I'd use 0. I could use 2, 6, and 7.3 if I wanted to. You can use any number in that interval. Makes sense. That's step 3. Pick some numbers in each interval. Step 4. What do you do with those numbers? Plug them in, see if they work. Good. Here's where we're plugging it in. Plug it into your original inequality. Absolute value of x minus 5 is less than or equal to 2. What's the first number we're trying? So take out the x, put a 0. 0 minus 5, that's absolute value of negative 5, which actually you get the same answer, is less than or equal to 2, which means what's the absolute value of negative 5? 5 is less than or equal to 2. Is 5 smaller than 2? That is false. Mark it out. Questions? Let's try a different number. I'm sorry. Here you go. Absolute value of negative 5 is less than or equal to 2. 5 is less than or equal to 2. Does not work. I'll slow down while you copy it. Here you go. Next step, we're going to take out the 0 now. And instead of 0, we're going to plug in 4. And we're going to see if it works. 4 minus 5, that's the absolute value of negative 1, is less than or equal to 2. Absolute value of negative 1, that is 1 is less than or equal to 2. That works. 4 works. You think 8's going to work? I don't either. And you'll learn in a second. That's going to be a shortcut for you. Once you know one of them that either works or doesn't work, you'll automatically know whether the other two will or won't. Hang on a second. Last, again, we're going to plug in 8 now and see if it works. So take out the x, put in an 8. You get the absolute value of 3 is less than or equal to 2. 3 is less than or equal to 2 is not true. You're on the right track, yeah. Now let's write the answer. The stuff in the middle worked. Here was 3, here was 7. The stuff, and since it's or equal to, we're going to do a closed circle, and we're going to shade which one? And just the middle, because that's what worked. The stuff in between 3 and 7 is what's going to work. If you plugged in 5, it would work. If you plugged in 6, it would work. If you plugged in 3.2, it would work. So there's your answer. Is that an or an and? That is an and. If you wrote that as a sandwich, that is great. Okay? If you want to write these answers as a sandwich, great, but you don't have to. So let's write it just as an and statement. It is an and because it's a sandwich. Can you finish it for me? X is, because it's to the right of 3. X is bigger than 3. But it's also smaller than or equal to 7. X is greater than or equal to 3, and x is less than or equal to 7. If you want to write it as a sandwich, you can just do that. X is between 3 and 7. Did you? Well, that's good because this is actually yesterday's lesson involved in this one. So here you go. 2 more, and I think they're pretty quick. Let's C part. Absolute value of x minus -4 is greater than or equal to -5. Absolute value of x minus -4 is greater than or equal to -5. X minus -4. First, clean this up. Anytime they give you a problem like this, clean it up, make it look better. X minus -4, what should you put there? X plus 4. X minus negative, that's plus. X minus -4 is x plus 4. Step 1, solve the corresponding equation. So instead of solving this, solve x plus 4, absolute value, equals -5. That's no solution. So we've got something weird going on here. Well, once you look at that and say that doesn't have an answer, go back to the original. Something must be fishy here. Absolute value is greater than or equal to -5. Okay, that should kind of tip you off. Absolute value is greater than a negative. When is that true? The absolute value is bigger. What did we say about the absolute value? It's always what? It's always positive. So when will the absolute value be greater than negative? Always. So what are you going to put as a solution? All real numbers. Because you look here, this doesn't have an answer, so we don't have anything to put on our number line. Okay? So, do what? If you plug in, think about it. If you plug in -9, you have -9 plus 4, which is -5. The absolute value of that is 5. The absolute value is never negative. Here's the thing about it. If you want to work it like this is fine. When you solve this, there's no solution to it. Here's another way of solving this problem. When you solve that, there is no solution to it, so what are you going to put on your number line? You don't have anything to put, right? So how many intervals do you have? You have one really big interval. You have all the numbers right here, so you can pick any number. Pick some number. 2. Okay, plug in 2. Absolute value of 2 plus 4 is greater than or equal to -5. That's going to be the absolute value of 6 is greater than or equal to -5. That's going to be 6 is greater than or equal to -5. Is that true? 6 is bigger than -5? Yeah, that's true. So everything in that interval works. What's in that interval? All real numbers are, because it's just one big interval. There was nothing to divide it. There's no way to divide it. I'm trying to keep Grant awake so he can play football next year. Everything in that interval is going to work. The interval is all real numbers, so therefore there's your solution. The next one's going to be very similar to that, but the opposite, actually. Absolute value of x plus 3 is less than -2. The absolute value of x plus 3 is less than -2. If you'll stop before you start, you can look at it and tell what the... Will the absolute value ever be less than -2? Because the absolute value is always positive. So this is going to be no solution. But let's try to solve it anyway. Absolute value of x plus 3 equals -2. No solution. So on your number line, we don't have any solutions to put. So we don't have any intervals. Well, I take that back. We have one big interval again. Pick a number, 2. Let's try 2. Plug in 2 into our original. Absolute value of 5 is less than -2. 5 is less than -2. Is that true? So nothing in that interval works. That was the only interval. So nothing is going to work. No solution. Any questions?